Hey, let's talk how to grow an audience, especially now in 2020. I'm Rachel Ngom. I help purpose-driven entrepreneurs get more leads and sales with Pinterest, blogging, online courses, and today we're going to be talking about how to grow an audience. So, gosh, important things that you need to know. Content still is super important. So creating content on a consistent basis that's going to attract your ideal client to you. So creating some form of content. Okay. So creating consistent content, and that means weekly minimum once a week. The more content you create, the faster you're going to grow an audience. So the consistency, like this is a non-negotiable. So you got to make sure that you have a calendar or something. They're following like a content calendar where you are being so consistent and you're showing up whether you feel like it or not, and you're doing it on a consistent basis. Okay. Second thing you can do to grow an audience is get in front of other people's audiences. And so think about who your target market is, and then where are they hanging out? What podcasts do they listen to? What Facebook groups are they in? Whose Instagram accounts do they follow? Could you do something to get in front of that person's audience? So when you're first starting out, especially, you want to look at like these target markets, these audiences. They probably don't have like millions of podcast downloads or like millions of people listening to their thing. So I wouldn't suggest like going after an Amy Porterfield or a Lewis Howes to start with. You could, you might not get an answer. You could try it. You never know who's going to say yes. Go for no, right? But I would start with like the micro niches of between like 10 and 50,000 people in their audience, like 10 to 50,000 Instagram followers, 10,000 people in their Facebook group. They have a podcast that they're uploading consistently that has a good amount of reviews there. Like those are people that I would start by just getting in front of those audiences. And so for some of them, it might just be pitching to get on a podcast and showing them the value that you have to offer for their audience. What's in it for them? Why should they have you on their show? You might pay to get in front of some of their audiences. And so it might look like, hey, could I do like a sponsored Instagram post for you? Just DM somebody on Instagram and ask if you could. The worst that's going to happen is they say no. And sometimes they might be like, they have 10,000 followers, they have good engagement, and they just never thought about it. So they might not even have like a going rate. And so they might be cheap. So getting in front of other people's audiences is a great way for you to grow your audience. Next thing you can do is pay for ads. Facebook ads are still amazing. Facebook and Instagram ads. They're definitely not as cheap as they once were when I first started, but it's a great way to build your audience. So in the beginning, yeah, it's an investment. Like it still is an investment. Is it worth it if you know what you're doing? Heck yes. Oh my gosh. If you can figure out how to do the right kind of ads on Instagram and Facebook, like the ROI is still insanity. So paying for ads is a great way to grow your audience. Learning search engine platforms, which we will talk about. I'm going to do something special inside of the She's Making an Impact Facebook group on November 3rd at 12 o'clock Eastern. So I'm going to dive in deep into the 3 platforms that you should be on to grow an audience. So if you're not in that Facebook group, just search on Facebook, She's Making an Impact, request to join our group, and then just put it on your calendar right now, November 3rd, 12 o'clock Eastern. There's no opt-in, there's no nothing. I just want to help you and dive deep into the top 3 platforms that you should be on to grow an audience. Okay. Did you go? Did you request? Did you request to join the She's Making an Impact Facebook group? There's like 11,000 rockstar entrepreneurs in there, and we would love to have you there. And then we'll see you on November 3rd at 12 o'clock Eastern. So that is a great way. And then the easiest way to grow an audience when you're creating content, when you're doing all these things, to be you and add value. Be you, add value. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Don't try to be some kind of marketer. And add value. I remember the first time I did like a bigger podcast interview. This is so funny. I did it with Jen Casey, who we're friends now, but at the time I was like, she's got a way bigger audience than I do because I was starting at 0. And so I reached out to her, and I was on her podcast, and it was right before I was doing a 5-day challenge, the Pin to Profit challenge, which I haven't done in a long time. It was so much fun. And because on her podcast, I showed up and I gave. I didn't hold anything back. I showed up and I gave, and I had tons of value. And I was able to blow her mind and her audience's mind. So much so that we had 200 people come, a lot of which came from that podcast audience, to register for that challenge. And that was our first like 5K challenge back in the day. That was like huge. When was this? December 2017, I believe. Yeah. And so because I showed up, I was myself, and I added massive value, I was able to gain trust with her audience and brought her audience into my ecosystem, where I hosted that challenge and then had a lot of fun and got some new clients. So create consistent content, get in front of other people's audiences, figure out like, where is your ideal client hanging out? Are they on Instagram? Are they on YouTube? Like, where are they? Get in front of those people's audiences. You could pay for ads, learn search engine platforms, which we'll be talking about in the She's Making an Impact Facebook group on November 3rd, and be yourself and add massive value. So I hoped this helped. If it did, make sure to join us on November 3rd in the She's Making Impact Facebook group, and I'll dive deep into the top 3 platforms to grow your audience, and I will talk to you later. Bye.